Right now, somewhere near you, there's a piece of paper or a thin slice of plastic that can be traded for almost anything. A meal, a night in a hotel, a doctor's time, someone's labor for an entire month. You hand it over, and the other person just accepts it, no questions asked. But stop and actually look at it. A banknote is cotton, linen, and ink. It costs a few cents to make. The card in your pocket is worth less than the sandwich you just bought with it. The numbers in your banking app aren't even objects. They're just glowing pixels on a screen. So why does any of it work? Why does a barista hand you a real, physical coffee in exchange for a number that exists nowhere but inside a computer? Why doesn't the whole thing just collapse? The answer is stranger than you think, because money isn't real, not in the way you assume it is. It has never been backed by gold for most of your life. It isn't printed by the government, mostly. And the moment you understand where it actually comes from, you will never look at the cash in your hand the same way again. Let's start somewhere that sounds like a joke, but isn't. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, there's a tiny island called Yap. And for centuries, the people of Yap used money. But their money wasn't coins or paper or shells, it was stone. Enormous discs of limestone, carved with a hole in the middle, some of them 12 feet across and heavier than 2 cars. Here's the part that matters. The stones were so heavy that nobody moved them. When you bought something with a rye stone, the stone stayed exactly where it was. The whole island simply agreed that it now belonged to someone else. The wealth wasn't in the stone, it was in everyone's shared memory of who owned it. And then this happened. According to Yap's oral history, a crew was hauling a giant stone back from another island on a raft when a storm hit and the stone sank to the bottom of the ocean. The crew rowed home and explained what happened, and the islanders shrugged and agreed. The stone still counts. It was real, it was well made. Everyone knew it existed, so its owner was still rich. A piece of money that no living person has ever seen, sitting on the seabed for over 100 years, and it still worked. Ownership passed from person to person for generations. Now, before you laugh at the islanders, I want you to remember that stone, because we are going to come right back to it. Because your money works in exactly the same way. You just can't see it yet. To understand how we got here, we have to kill a story you were almost certainly taught in school. A long time ago, people used barter. You had a chicken, I had some wheat, we traded. But barter was clumsy. What if I wanted your chicken, but you didn't want my wheat? So, the story says, humans invented money to fix the problem. It's a clean story, it's in the textbooks, and anthropologists have a problem with it. They've never actually found it. The late anthropologist David Graeber, in his book Debt, The First 5,000 Years, pointed out that despite centuries of searching, no one has ever discovered a society that ran on pure barter and then invented money. It appears to be a myth we tell ourselves. What the records actually show is the opposite. In ancient Mesopotamia, thousands of years ago, people were keeping accounts on clay tablets, who owed what to whom, long before coins existed. Money didn't start as a coin you could bite. It started as a record of debt, an IOU, a promise. From the very beginning, money was never a thing. It was a number that everyone agreed to trust. And then, around 2,600 years ago, someone made that promise physical. In a kingdom called Lydia, in what is now Turkey, under a king named Alyattes, sometime around 600 BC, people began stamping small lumps of a gold and silver alloy called electrum. These were the first true coins, minted in the city of Sardis. And the genius wasn't the metal. People had used metal before. The genius was the stamp. The stamp meant a king was vouching for it. You no longer had to weigh the metal, test it, or trust the stranger in front of you. You just had to trust the authority behind the mark. In one stroke, money became something a government could guarantee and control. Coins spread across the ancient world like wildfire, because trusting a king's stamp was so much easier than trusting each other. For over 1,000 years, that's what money was. Metal, stamped by power. But metal has a problem. It's heavy. Fast forward to China, just over 1,000 years ago. In the province of Sichuan, the local money was made of iron, and it was so heavy that buying a simple roll of silk could mean hauling around 100 pounds of coins. So merchants in the city of Chengdu started doing something clever. Instead of moving the iron, they'd deposit it with a trusted shop and walk away with a paper receipt. And those receipts started getting traded as if they were the money. By the year 1024, the government took over and issued its own official version. It was called Jiaozi, and it is the first paper money in human history. Think about what just happened. The paper wasn't valuable. The paper was a promise, a claim on real metal sitting in a vault somewhere else. People were now trading promises about money instead of the money itself. And it worked because everyone agreed to believe the promise. That idea, paper that stands in for real wealth, held somewhere else, travels across the world, and lands in 17th century London, where it quietly mutates into something far more powerful. In London, people with gold didn't want to carry it around, so they left it with goldsmiths, who had strong vaults. The goldsmith would write you a receipt. The bearer of this note may collect this much gold. And just like in China, people started trading the receipts instead of fetching the gold. Paper changed hands. The gold never moved. But the goldsmiths noticed something. On any given day, only a few people ever came to collect their actual gold. The rest just kept trading the paper. So the goldsmiths had an idea, a dangerous, brilliant idea. They began writing out more receipts than they had gold to back. They lent those extra notes to other people and charged interest. And here is the moment everything changes. So read it slowly. Those new receipts could buy real things. They circulated as money, but there was no gold behind them. The goldsmith had created money out of nothing, out of a promise he was quietly betting nobody would call in all at once. That's not a glitch in the system. That trick became the foundation of modern banking. For a few more centuries, money still pretended to be tied to something solid. After the Second World War, in 1944, 44 nations met in a town called Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, and built a global system on top of the US dollar. The deal? The dollar was pegged to gold at $35 an ounce, and every other currency was pegged to the dollar. The whole world's money was, in theory, one big paper claim on American gold sitting in vaults. And then, on a single evening, that ended. August 15th, 1971, President Richard Nixon went on television and announced that the United States would no longer convert dollars into gold. The gold window, as they called it, slammed shut and never reopened. In one speech, the dollar, and by extension, nearly all the money on earth, was cut loose from gold entirely. So what is the dollar backed by now? What is the cash in your hand actually a claim on? Nothing physical. It's backed by belief, by the fact that the government says it's money, and everyone agrees to act as if that's true. Economists have a polite word for this. They call it fiat, from the Latin for let it be done. Money because someone declared it so, and we all went along with it. And if you think being backed by belief makes it fragile, you're right. Since 1971, measured against gold, the US dollar has lost over 90% of its purchasing power. The belief still holds, but the thing it's holding up has been quietly deflating the entire time. Now here's the final twist, and it's the one almost nobody knows. Because at this point, you might still be picturing money as something the government prints. Stacks of notes rolling off a press somewhere. It isn't. Not mostly. In 2014, the Bank of England, one of the oldest and most respected central banks in the world, published a paper called Money Creation in the Modern Economy. And in it, they admitted something that contradicts what's still printed in economics textbooks. Most money in the modern economy isn't printed by the central bank at all. It's created by ordinary commercial banks, and they create it when they make loans. Read their own words, paraphrased plainly. When a bank gives you a loan, it does not hand you someone else's deposited savings. It simply types a number into your account. That number did not exist a second earlier. It was conjured into being the instant you signed. The loan creates the money. Most of the money in your country, the overwhelming majority of it, was created exactly this way. Not printed, not mined, not backed by gold in a vault, just typed into existence as somebody's debt on the strength of a promise to pay it back. The goldsmith's trick never went away. We just scaled it up to run the entire planet. So let's go back to that piece of paper near you, the one worth a few cents that buys a month of someone's life. It works for the exact same reason the stone at the bottom of the Yap Ocean worked. Not because it's valuable in itself, not because there's gold behind it. It works because everyone around you has agreed, silently, completely, every single day, to believe it has value. Money is a shared story we tell so consistently that we forget it's a story at all. It is collective memory, collective trust, collective belief, given the weight of something real. The islanders of Yap weren't primitive. They understood money better than most people alive today. They just kept their stone where they could see it. We took ours, sank it to the bottom of the ocean, and agreed never to mention that it was gone. And every day, you trade your time, your work, your one short life, for your share of a stone nobody has seen in 50 years.